Today's episode is a special one. It's the grand finale of our 3-part series on advanced job search strategies for mid to late career professionals. Over the past few episodes, I'll put a link to those below, we've been building up a playbook to help you navigate an evolving job market. In this final installment, we are tackling the hidden job market and how understanding what it is can actually help you get your foot in the door faster. Let's go. Hi, I'm Renata Bernardi, and this is the Job Hunting Podcast, where I interview experts and professionals and discuss issues that are important for job hunters and those who are working to advance their careers. So make sure that you subscribe and follow, and let's dive right in. All right, so before we dive in, let's quickly recap what we covered in episodes 284 part 1 and 286 part 2 to set the stage. Let's talk about 284 first. Of course, we discussed the current job market landscape for experienced professionals. We're talking about first and second quarter of 2025. We noted that social, economic, and political conditions in 2025, and I don't need to explain those to you. You probably know what I'm talking about. But those conditions have led companies to hire more cautiously. They are being cautious, wouldn't you? If you were in that situation as well, meaning that fewer jobs are opening, more competition is in place, more people are not as mobile as they would be in different circumstances. People crave security in times of instability. So there's little turnover in top jobs as well. And longer wait times for applicants. People are taking longer in the recruitment process, which is frustrating for both candidates and recruiters, to be honest. In that episode, that's 284, it's titled This Ain't Your First Recession, How to Navigate Today's Job Market Like a Pro. So if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, wherever you are, you can go and look it up. We introduced this idea that many roles are being filled in new ways, and it's important for the professionals to know how those new ways work and how to apply for jobs in a different way. The key insight, I believe, from that episode was that some jobs never even make it to the job boards, right? So in other words, we started exploring hidden job markets and why traditional ways of applying and waiting, that is not enough these days to, advance your job search faster. We laid out a high-level strategy playbook for overcoming these challenges, especially if you've been applying and not hearing back, right? So if that first conversion is not happening, if you're applying for jobs that you know you're good at and you're not hearing back, then we discussed some strategies to overcome that. That's episode 284. Then in episode 286, we turned our focus into personal branding and networking in this digital age. The episode was titled LinkedIn is Not Optional. If you're not showing up on LinkedIn, you are invisible. How job hunting has changed for professionals over 40. Look up that episode. I think if you haven't listened, it's a really important listen. I got really good feedback from my clients about that episode. And we talked about how crucial a strong online presence is today, right? For mid-career professionals, the over 40s crowd, the job search game is different now than it was years ago. And being active on a platform like LinkedIn is really important, and networking effectively must include networking on LinkedIn. And we gave tips on strengthening your LinkedIn profile so recruiters and hiring managers can actually find you, and discussed building connections with confidence on LinkedIn and outside of LinkedIn as well, of course. So essentially, we were emphasizing that even if you are really experienced and you have decades experience, you cannot ignore those modern tools. If you're not visible online and if your presence it doesn't align with your expertise and your reputation and your experience, you are going to have an issue with your job search. We also covered ways to get comfortable with networking, even if it doesn't come naturally to you, even if you are an introvert, turning it into one of your strengths. And, even if you're introvert, and especially if you're introvert, there are really great ways today to network effectively. I would say more so than ever. Apologies if there's some background noise. It's incredibly warm in Melbourne for autumn, and I had to open my window and just get some fresh air here. So if you're watching on YouTube, you know that in my office, and I'm also always very casual. This is like a conversation, right? So I'd love to hear back from you, and I know this is one way in many ways for me, but if during the week or whenever you listen to this episode, you can provide feedback, insight, reflections, I would love to hear back from you. So, with those foundations from episodes 284 and 286, I felt like there were some gaps that we needed to cover, and that's today's episode, right? The hidden job market, what it is, why it matters, and how you can tap into it using a combination of reactive, passive, and active job search strategies. And we're going to talk about those three strategies in this episode. I just wanted to have a quick break here before I continue because I've been noticing that there has been an increased popularity in 31 Days of Action, which is a very low investment, high return service that I provide on my website. And I just wanted to let you know that the feedback has been really good. And I'm going to be reviewing it this week to make sure that all of the 31 days are still, what I want, my clients to do. But in summary, in my view, 31 Days of Action is an absolute steal, right? It's so good. It's a simple concept. I created it for myself when I was made redundant. You do one thing per day for 31 days and you just watch what happens after 31 days. And people are coming back to me with great feedback. You increase your understanding of the job market, your brain will start more actively and strategically thinking about your career goals, your LinkedIn presence will improve. Trust me, it is a game changer. I really truly believe, because I did it myself, and then my clients all do it. Some clients go back to it again and again, because it's such a good way of creating accountability and discipline and a habit of paying attention to your career. It costs $1 per day. And it's like $1 Australian. It's not even a US dollar. So if you are overseas, like most of my podcast listeners in the US and Europe, I think it will be so cheap for you to invest in this and take it seriously. That's my advice. Take it seriously. Do only one thing per day. Do not try to do more than one thing per day. That's not the point. The whole psychology behind it is for you to do incremental advancement and progression and see the results after 31 days of all the things that you have done. Come back to me after doing it and let me know, because I get the best emails and DMs and messages and I love it. Okay, it's easy to find. It's on my website under services. 31 days of action. It's awesome. Just go there and sign up. Okay, let's talk about the hidden job market. That's why we're here. Okay, you might be wondering what it is. People talk about it all the time, and they make it seem like it's like some sort of conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy, everybody. Simply put, the hidden job market is all those job opportunities that aren't necessarily publicly advertised yet or posted online yet, or maybe they never will be advertised. Okay, I like to include the entire period before the job is advertised as the hidden job market. Okay, so before the job is advertised, but When the job is already being developed, designed, or the person who was doing it has resigned, the wheels start turning, right? So a lot can be accomplished if you have connections, if you have a good LinkedIn profile. We're going to talk about those things in a minute, because people start paying attention. They start looking at their networks. Who could be doing this job? Can we promote somebody internally? Do I know somebody that could be a good fit for this role? People start thinking about it. Recruiters start thinking about who they have in their black book of connections, or should they be going to LinkedIn and actively looking for people? That's, you don't see that if you're at home in your office, in your dining room table, applying for jobs. Imagine the job ad as the tip of the iceberg, okay? And lots of other things are happening before or alongside the time that that job is being advertised. So this is what you need to know. Jobs, if they are advertised or not, they get filled through other channels, via referrals, via internal promotions, via recruiters, or networking, with the preferred candidates identified often before a formal job posting is ever made, if it's made at all. Okay, so let's focus on why would companies not advertise the job opening. Okay, you may be asking yourself, why would they do that? Is that okay? And here are a few reasons why. The first reason is, when you advertise, there's like an overwhelming response that you need to manage. Posting a job is hard work. It can flood employers with hundreds of applications, many of them from unqualified candidates. Sometimes employers don't have the capacity to deal with all of that. In fact, recruiters often avoid advertising some openings because so many of the applicants to jobs that are publicly advertised can be unqualified, and then you have to deal with providing them with feedback and getting lots of things in your inbox. And there are recruiters that don't advertise. They're usually senior headhunters looking for senior executives, and maybe you have already been in touch with people like that. They will find you through referrals, through your LinkedIn, and they will get in touch with you. And that's common for more experienced professionals. That's why this episode is tailored to you. So, creating this huge sorting task is not conducive of optimization of selection process. They'd rather just do something completely different than go through a sea of resumes, and you know it's too much work. They don't want to do that. They prefer to work, for example, through trusted referrals, known contacts, recruiters like the ones I've mentioned to you before, that work in a way that's quite invisible. And this can sometimes be important if the roles are senior roles or important roles, and you don't want your competition to know that you are advertising for those roles. The other problem is speed and efficiency. So, if a manager already has someone in mind, perhaps a former colleague or a recommendation from a teammate or somebody internally, they can fill the role faster without lengthy public search. This is especially common for senior roles where trust and a proven experience are critical. And these are especially important for consultancies and contract roles, short term projects. So, if you're that type of professional, you know what I mean, that this is all usually arranged informally and not through job ads. Then there are cost savings. Using internal referrals or networking can save on recruiting costs, like job board fees, extensive HR screening times, paying for recruiters. Companies often encourage this with employee referral bonus. And I have discussed this before, how important it is, if you know somebody in the company, to let them know, because this is a win-win for you and for the person that you know. They could have financial benefits from referring you. And like I said before, I want to go back to the confidential searches, right? So high level positions, strategic roles, companies might not want others to know that they're searching. They want to search quietly. They might not want competitors or even their employees know that they are hiring for a specific role. So those executive positions, those expert positions are frequently handed very quietly by headhunters or internal networks without any public posting. The result of all of this is that a significant chunk of available jobs don't show up on LinkedIn in a timely fashion. They might show up and then quickly disappear. That's the same for Indeed or any other job board for that matter. You won't find them by scouring the lists, because if they are never advertised, they're not going to be there. And for mid to late career professionals, the hidden job market is especially relevant to understand. If you're an experienced professional in a competitive market, you cannot solely rely on stay at home and doing online applications. That cannot be your only strategy. Many of the roles you'd want and be perfect for might be landed through networking or working with recruiters or, conversations. You might even be designing the role as you're having the conversations with your future employer. The good news is that as an experienced professional in your 40s, in your 50s, in your 60s, chances are you have a larger network and more industry credibility to leverage from. And those are your keys to unlock these opportunities. Before we get into how to tap into that hidden market, let's outline the three broad approaches to job searching. Understanding these three broad approaches that I mentioned before, reactive, passive, and proactive, will help us see how we can combine these strategies in optimizing your job search and making it more powerful and faster for you. Okay, so three strategies. When it comes to job hunting, not all job searches are the same. Okay, and we can bucket these strategies into reactive, passive, and active. And each one is important. Each one plays a role in finding new opportunities. And more importantly, the hidden job market is mostly accessed through a combination of these three, but importantly through passive and active methods, right? So let's break these down. Let's talk first about the most popular one, the one I know that you've been doing. It's the reactive job search. You're responding to advertised roles. This is the most traditional way to look for a job. You react to a job opening that is posted. It means that you are looking at job boards, or the job boards are being automated to send you roles that you might have filtered and automated to get into your inbox. You are looking at companies' career pages, you're looking at LinkedIn job postings, and you are applying to roles that are advertised. You tailor your resume and your cover letter, you submit it into an online application system or sometimes emails, but mostly these days through an application system, and then you wait for a response. So that's why it's reactive, right? It's because it covers the jobs that companies post publicly, and also because it's important that you do that to expand your network of employers and recruiters. So yeah, that job is good for you, you apply, but also, wouldn't it be great to actually connect with this employer? Wouldn't it be great to actually connect with this recruiter, right? So if you don't have a big network of employers and recruiters, then applying for those jobs may expand your understanding of the market and your connections. So every week there are new listings, right? And you want to be in the running for those. Now it's raining, so I need to close the door. The weather is just crazy. And you want to be in the running for those, right? So the downside is if it's only the method that you're using, right? It's limited to visible jobs and everyone else can see it too. So the competition is more intense. Recruiters might get hundreds of applications for a single role. They may already have contacted even before the job is advertised, or as soon as the job is advertised, they may have contacted people that were on their list of potential candidates. They may have referrals from the employer. Oh, you know, make sure you include this person or that person. So you are getting into this search at the tail end of the process, okay? And only a small percentage of those applicants will ever even make it past the initial resume screening, right? So we heard in episode 284 that less than half of the applicants to a typical job meet what the employer considers to be the stated qualifications. And this means that hiring managers are sifting through a lot of noise. No wonder the response rate is low. No wonder, even if you feel like you're perfect for the role, you didn't get through because it's just too much noise. That reactive searching is often a waiting game. You apply and then react to callbacks and emails that are coming in. It's necessary, but if you only rely on reactive search, you are in a very crowded pond and you're ignoring other ponds that are bigger, the other bigger ponds and bigger ways and better ways of looking for work. Okay, now let's talk about my favorite. It's the passive job searching. I love it. It's about being discoverable. It's about being open to opportunities. A passive job search means you aren't actively applying necessarily to jobs, but you have positioned yourself to be found. In other words, if recruiters are searching the LinkedIn platform, they will find you. If hiring managers are keywording the search engines of the LinkedIn platform, they will find you. Or you are known for being for having a reputation in your space. Okay? They will find you typically through a strong online presence, a strong reputation, strong word of mouth, and um, and then a well-known reputation for being a trusted person for a specific area of expertise. So for most professionals, the centerpiece of passive job searching is LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be for all professionals, and we can work one-on-one on that if you want. You just book a consultation with me. But as we saw in episode 286, I stressed out that if your LinkedIn profile isn't robust, it's not up to date, and you're virtually invisible in the job market, then how can they find you? That's a very risky place to be, even if you have a job and you're happy. Okay? So, what do you need to do to be an effective passive job seeker? You don't even need to be actively applying. What you need to do is to have a comprehensive LinkedIn profile that highlights your experience, highlights your skills, your accomplishments with relevant keywords that are used by recruiters, that you are open to work in your settings on LinkedIn, that you're turned on to be open to work privately for recruiters only, right? Because this is a passive job search strategy, so you don't need the green banner on LinkedIn. That indicates to recruiters that you are open to hearing about opportunities. Okay, so this is really important. And perhaps resumes posted on job sites or with recruiters, but generally LinkedIn is the big one. Okay, so I'm okay, and I think you should contact the right recruiters, the people that look for jobs in your field, and say, look, I just wanted to provide you with my most up-to-date resume in case in the future or now you have an opportunity for me. Ideally, some activity and content on LinkedIn is also really important, showing that you are engaged in your field, engaged with the right network of your area of expertise through commenting, through sharing, through, posting as well. And when you set yourself up like this, you allow job opportunities to come to you. I tell my clients, and sometimes I post, if you follow me on Instagram, you know that in my stories, I sometimes post some of the messages I get. And nothing makes me happier than a message saying, guess what? I did the LinkedIn audit with you, and a recruiter just found me, and I'm going for an interview. You want to make a career coach, Renata Benatti, happy, is having a LinkedIn audit, optimization of your LinkedIn profile turn into real results. And I know it can be done, right? So a recruiter working on an posted or unposted role might be searching their LinkedIn platform, which is LinkedIn Recruitment, for candidates with your skill set and then message you. And it comes out of the blue. You didn't even see the job ad. Maybe there isn't a job ad at all, and they will get in touch with you. Sometimes a former colleague might see an update that you've done and notice that you are open for opportunities, in some way, or remember you if they have forgotten about you and you haven't been top of mind, and they might refer you to a job in their company. And this also has happened to clients of mine following that nurturing on LinkedIn through comments and posts. This passive approach taps into hidden job markets because many recruiters fill roles by looking for candidates rather than posting jobs. So keep this in mind, that being a passive candidate is great. It feels nicer. It's not as salesy or needy or transactional. And ideally, you want to always be in that position, always, even if you have a perfectly great job. And knowing that you cannot rely on the reactive job search alone is really important. You have to make sure that you're visible. So make sure that you complete your profile on LinkedIn and understand that passive opportunities tend to find those that stand out and network publicly. And I'm only talking about LinkedIn, but I could talk about many other ways of you growing your brand awareness, right? If you have brand equity, like I know most of you do, like 99% of the people that reach out to me have great brand equity. Very rarely I work with clients that have burnt bridges and we need to rebuild their reputation. I can only think of, I don't know, in all of these years, I can only think of maybe 3 clients, right? All my other clients have great brand equity. It's just the awareness and how they come across and being top of mind that is really an issue for them to activate the passive recruitment strategies. So then we can talk about active job searching, which is one that, if I may say so myself, I was pretty good at. And I know it's awkward for a lot of people to do. And I think that being a coach now, I can relate and empathize, and then I can share some of the ways that I did it so that people don't feel so awkward about actively looking for work. That proactive outreach is sometimes something people don't like to do. So, an active search is all about making things happen instead of waiting. This means that you initiate conversations, you reach out to people, and you seek out potential opportunities even if there are no job posted. So active strategies include, for example, networking with intent. So reaching out to former colleagues and friends, acquaintances in your industry to let them know that you are, in fact, looking for work, to learn about opportunities that are coming up and put yourself forward if they need people with your expertise. Active job seeking is about contacting recruiters contacting hiring managers directly, even if there are no jobs advertised. Because perhaps if you're emailing a recruiter who is specialized in your field, if you're messaging a hiring manager at a company that you admire and you're introducing yourself, even if they don't have a job posted, you express your interest and ask for an informal chat. Okay? This is such a great way of doing it. And as I explain when I do posts about this on my LinkedIn profile or even in previous episodes of this podcast, it's easier said than done. I get it, right? Because it's how you write it, it's the tone of how you introduce yourself or introduce the topic. This is really something that working with somebody like me or another coach can really help if you want to get the tone right so that you're not ghosted by these connections, right? And there is no awkwardness there in the rest of your interactions with them when you see them next if they haven't responded. You don't want to be in that situation. I understand that, but it needs to be done. So finding the right tone is really the key for unlocking the active job search strategies. The other thing that you can actively do is engage in industry groups or industry events, attending industry groups and conferences, attending meetups, and even in webinars. I'm a big fan of webinars with an open chat because you can get to know people and ask questions, online forums, building relationships in places like LinkedIn groups and other groups. Sometimes just being in the right conversation can lead to a tip about a job opening that isn't public. So I've been in several situations where I'm like, and I've discussed them in previous episodes, where I got jobs just because I was open to having a conversation and then it just popped up and it all started. And sometimes it leads nowhere. So you have to go there for the experience and the exploratory work and not be so transactional and binary about these approaches. I think that that's probably the key. I'm a big fan of professional associations and alumni networks. I've discussed alumni in particular in an episode in the past. These often have job boards or email lists where members share openings before they go public, or at least, even if they don't have that, they can provide this sense of community of people who might alert you for hidden opportunities. I know that many university alumni organizations are really strong in sort of finding jobs for their alumni and making sure that everybody is well. So if you are part of a university like that, make sure that you access those groups. And joining discussions on LinkedIn as well, commenting on your posts in your industry or even posting content yourself. It's a different side of your activity where it's more overt that you are actively looking. So, how to position that, again, it's all about the tone and how it comes across. That can also activate that engagement, put you on someone's radar, which is proactive and can lead to jobs. This is something that I think needs to be discussed with your mentors or with a coach. I know that I can think of one particular client where we went full on green banner, which is not something that many of my clients do. And she also did a very good job on her profile to position herself as actively looking in her posts and in her about section. And it was new for me too. Most of my clients don't do that. And it ended up being a very good strategy for her. And I'm very proud of the way that she went about it. So, active job searching is essentially, really proactive. It's you taking control of the process, not being embarrassed or confused or awkward about it. It tends to be the most work for the job seeker because it involves research, reaching out, following up. It's like a business development job for yourself, but it often yields the highest quality leads, okay? Especially in the hidden job market. So if you network your way into a conversation with a company that's quietly planning to hire for a role that you fit in, you might get a shot at it before they even consider advertising it more broadly. Okay? We heard in earlier episodes that networking can drastically shorten your job search, right? By bypassing some of the random sort of online applications. So doing it in the right way with the right tone, and positioning yourself for the jobs, that active search opens doors that others might not even know exist. Okay, so an important point here is that these three methods are not mutually exclusive. In fact, for you to really optimize your job search, you would do all of them, right? You should be doing all three. And let's talk about why combining those three strategies gives you the best outcome. Think of reactive, passive, and active job search strategies as three different channels, right? Or three different pipelines feeding into your job search. If you put all of your effort into just one channel, you're limiting the flow of opportunities. But if you have all three channels working, then you're maximizing and reaching out to many more opportunities for your role. And I think, especially for mid to late career professionals, it's important to be thinking about catching every opportunity. Some jobs will be posted online, especially at companies with formal and large scale HR processes. So you don't want to miss those, right? That's where your reactive job search really helps, having a good understanding of creating a crisp and clear resume, a cover letter, understanding of how the ATS system works. That's all going to be helpful for you. And there's knowledge that, when I work with clients, that I share on how to optimize that. So that's one thing. The other is passive efforts, which are minimal, frankly, and then the active efforts, which are the hardest to teach and possibly the hardest to learn as well. But a combination of that is just perfection for an experienced professional looking for work. And I also want to discuss with you reducing the reliance of luck, right? A purely reactive search can leave you feeling really helpless. And I don't want people to do that. It tends to spiral down very quickly if you start sending lots of applications and not hearing back. But if you also network and you optimize your LinkedIn and you start getting those little snippets, of information, intelligence about your area of expertise and contacts with people, you create your own luck, right? You might generate your leads yourself, feel more confident because you're talking to people and interacting with people. It's more empowering for you not to just be waiting and sitting by the phone, right? So it's a more balanced strategy. And I would really sort of highly recommend that you consider those three flows, three areas, and do some reflection and think, which one am I doing best? Usually it's the reactive. Is the reactive actually converting? If it's not, then you need to even improve that. Am I doing any of the other two? And how can I improve so that I can put all these multiple irons in the fire and make sure that my time looking for work is reduced? And the other thing is that the three methods can actually enhance each other. So if you applied reactively to a company's role, and then you also reach out to an acquaintance who works at that company and you mention that you applied, and then the person may potentially refer you. And then you also are on LinkedIn actively discussing an area of expertise that it's aligned with that role. You're complementing each other, right? So that's why job search for me is like an ecosystem, and all of that can really influence how a job search goes. So I think what we know now is that the job market has changed, especially for more experienced professionals, because there aren't that many roles for you compared to people that are just starting now. There are usually more roles for them. The hidden job market might sound mysterious, but it's not. It's just the reality for the corporate professional. It just means opportunities are flowing through different channels than the old fashioned posted and apply routine that maybe served you well 10 years ago, but not now. And you now know how to navigate these channels. Here is what will help you in your job search from now on, now that you know how to operate those three types of job search strategies. There's a whole world of jobs that you will never find unless you put yourself out there. These hidden roles are filled with networking, referrals, and recruiters. By acknowledging this, understanding this, you have widened your horizons substantially beyond just applying for the jobs that are posted. And you're now aiming to get in the door through relationships, which can often be a faster and more successful route. Not just because, you know, uh, of the recruitment process, but the onboarding as well, right? The person who has referred you and advocated for you has invested interest in your success and will help you out. So, using all three job strategies in conjunction, reactive, passive, and active, can really reinforce each other. And together, they will dramatically increase your odds of landing something great for you. If you ever catch yourself leaning on just one approach, remember to reflect on this. Are you just being comfortable or exhausted by the job search? To be honest, take a break, reflect, and remember to come back and diversify and engage with the other two. We usually focus on the one that's we find easier for us, for our temperament, our traits, our personality, and we let go of the other two. So, networking is your best friend in a hidden job search. Approach networking as simply having professional conversations, not asking for jobs, okay? Just building and rekindling those conversations. We broke down, how to do it smartly in previous episodes. We will do it more in future episodes. So target the right folks, reach out with a personal touch, ask for guidance, and follow up graciously. When you put genuine effort into networking, you will find that people generally want to help you. Often they just need to know what you're looking for, know that you're looking, and how they can assist. So don't let pride or fear or ego hold you back from reaching out. Everyone needs help at some point, and most people are really happy to give it as well. The other thing is warm introductions and referrals that can bypass a lot of red tape. So, whenever you can get introduced or referred to an opportunity, do it. Do it. It propels you from an anonymous pile of resumes to a known candidate. We talked about leveraging mutual contacts and introductions and how companies value referred candidates in previous episodes, but I want to again provide you with more guidance in future episodes about that, because I know that that is something that I often get asked, and I'm taking notes. When people book consultations with me, when people reach out to me, and I'm sort of identifying what are really the hardest things for people to do, and I want to make special episodes for those. So make it a goal that for every job that you truly want, you will try to find an inside connection. Not all, it won't always happen. I get it, but try. Make it a goal, okay? Even one referral can make such a great difference between your resume being seen or being ignored. The other thing is recruiters, right? They are key players in this job search process. Do not ignore them, do not treat them weird, especially for high level roles. They can be your best advocates and supporters in your career for years to come. So connect with them, impress them, and stay on their radar. They have insider information on openings you'd never hear about otherwise. So if you have good contacts in the recruitment world, it can certainly help not just for this next job, but for future jobs to come. And the easiest way for them to hear about you is often LinkedIn. You know, all recruiters are on LinkedIn and they will be using messaging on LinkedIn regularly. So you don't have to email them or call them. I think LinkedIn with recruiters is a really good way to keep connected. And talking about LinkedIn, again, your presence can do a lot of heavy lifting for you. A strong profile coupled with even a very modest amount of content is all you need to shine. Okay, so it's like networking in your sleep, right? You do it for a few minutes a day or half an hour every week, and it will just do things for you. You don't have to be there all day. That's not the point. Engaging on LinkedIn keeps you informed as well, right? About things that are happening, people that have changed jobs, what companies are doing or saying. So make sure that your feed, the things that you're following, the people that you're following, is good for you, because I want you to log into LinkedIn and, yeah, have fun looking at what's coming up in your feed. All right, everybody. I think that that is more than enough for this episode. I want you to keep searching for other episodes in our archives. Make sure that you are going back to some of our previous episodes, and you can do that super easily with the job hunting podcast website. There is a search button there. You type the word that you're interested in. Let's say it's ATS or networking or personal brand, and the episodes where we've discussed this in the past will just show up in the search, and you can go and have a look at other episodes. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast wherever you found it. Remember that we have an amazing newsletter where sometimes if things are really detailed, I can't sort of talk about them. Otherwise, it will be one of those super long episodes. So if there is a list of 7 things that you can do to connect with somebody, with people, I will probably put it in the newsletter, right? So make sure that you're subscribed to my newsletter. There is a button to it below. And if you're feeling like just listening to this podcast is not enough to get you to where you want to be this year, next year, make sure that you sign up for something like 31 Days of Action, right? It is a really great way to get you out of paralysis and get you slowly into the mode of, all right, let's pay attention to my career. Let's do the right thing, one thing at a time, one day at a time. And I hope that it helps you. Let me know. Okay, that's it for now, and I'll see you next week again. Bye.